If you get a rush of endorphins when you're playing a PlayStation and you hear a sound like this, or if you're on an Xbox or a PC and you hear a sound like this, or even if you're on a Nintendo and you hear a sound like this. Maybe one day. Hey, Nintendo, please. I have just the site for you. So today, we're going to look and talk about all things retro achievements. So if you've been following my tutorials for the AY and Thor, you'll know that one of the parts of those setup guides that I always insist people try is retro achievements. All they are is a way to add that extra bit of life to those classic games and your favourites. You might get a little bit more mileage out of them. You might find Easter eggs you never knew existed that are tied to an achievement. It's a great resource. It's been in development for, I think, yes, it says there 2012. I discovered it around 2017, 2018. And anyone who's into emulation, this is the first thing I recommend. So it can be a bit complicated to understand how they work, so we'll have a quick look just around the website, and then I'll give an example of how it works in game. So firstly, if we go and have a look at this games drop down here, you'll see these are all the systems that are currently compatible. There is also the Nintendo Wii is due out, I believe, at time of recording within the next month. So March 2026, around that time. They have started developing the achievement sets, but they're not yet available for public release. So as you can see, we've got your classic Game Boys, GameCube, PS1, PS2. If you're a big fan of the Elector TV games computer, we've got you covered. I know I'm a big fan. Never heard of it, no idea what it is. So try it out. Maybe do a tutorial on that. Drop a note in the comments if you want me to check out the Elector TV games computer. So you can see there it's covered pretty much most of the classics. There's no Xbox or Xbox 360 at present. I don't know if that's something that's going to be considered. There's also no 3DS. I know that's something that's been very requested. Imagine that maybe once they've got the Wii stuff out of the way, that might be the next one they look at. That's pure speculation. I'm basing that on absolutely zero evidence. So if we take a look at, for example, Game Boy Advance. So in here, we can see here is a list of games and a filter at the top. So if we look at set type, you have base sets and subsets. So these are different types of achievement sets. So normally you'd have your base set, which is your standard achievements. And for those kind of super fans out there, they might have an additional set known as a subset. For example, I did all the achievements for Tony Hawk's Underground in the base set. In the subset, there are things like, oh, do it all with 0 stats and things like that, which I've not yet attempted, so that's next on my list. They have also released, and I have noticed it on Game Boy Advance, multi-sets. So this is a combination of the base set and the subset. I'm aware this might sound like a lot of information. Don't worry, we'll get through it in more detail shortly. But multi-sets are just, rather than have two separate versions of the same game, you can have one and it'll unlock achievements for both. So if you want to see if your favourite game has achievements, go to your console of choice and we'll try Pokemon. Does Pokemon have achievements? Yes, it does. So like I said, we've got Emerald there. So that's your base set. You can tell because it's not got anything next to it. We've also got Mudkip versus the world. I'm not too sure what that is, but I imagine hopefully someone in the comments or one of you viewers will be aware. Professor Oak challenge. Like I've mentioned in recent Pokemon videos, I have forgotten as much as I ever knew about Pokemon, so this is all news to me. There's also how many people are playing them. So if you want to go, what are the most popular sets? So, for example, Pokemon Emerald is pretty close. Fire Red's about 10,000 less. Unbound as well. So I played a lot of Unbound recently, and that has achievements. So ROM hacks are supported because they play within a Game Boy Advance emulator or some emulators. You also have things like game types. So if you've got prototypes or homebrew games, some of them might also be in here. If you play a game and you think it's not got achievements, I'll double check. You can also check here. So which ones don't have achievements? So Sonic Mon Fire Red, whatever that is, that has 24,000 players and no achievements. Someone needs to get on that. So all these achievements are developed by a community of developers, and they have a very strict and very rigorous process, which helps with the integrity of retro achievements, which is something that I absolutely love that they've done. So if there are bugs, or if the achievements sets have to be approved, so they can't just throw out some press the left button once type of achievements just for those easy kind of sloppy masteries. So masteries are just the equivalent of platinums. It's unlocking all the achievements. So it's developed by a lot of passionate people, and they have to go through this approval process. So it's absolutely fantastic. If we head over to download, it will show you. So these are the emulators where Retro Achievements is currently integrated. So we can see here we've got RetroArch, which will accompany for most of them. The beautiful thing about RetroArch is you sign in once and it'll work across all the cores you've got installed. PCSX2, DuckStation, also tells you what platforms they're on. So primarily, I've been covering Android recently. However, looking to the future, I will be looking at different systems, whether that's Windows or Mac. I don't really use Linux, but maybe that's something I can look into. Flycast for Dreamcast, Dolphin for GameCube and Wii. It's all sorts here. A lot of these I've never even heard of. Some of you might have done. And there's support for them being added all the time. There's also filters here if you want specific information about an emulator. You can search for it, or you can see what the most popular ones are. Obviously, RetroArch, I think it's going to be a tough one to beat, given how many systems that it encompasses. We also have forums. If you're old school like me and you despise Discord, then you can have a good old forum. So there's each game has its own forum. So if you want to chat about that specific game, you can go to that game and find the forum post. So what we'll do is we'll find a game like we just did. So if we look at PlayStation 2, for example, PlayStation 2, the achievement sets for these only came out a couple of years ago. There's still quite a lot to do. So you can see there, of the 3,126 games in the PS2 library, only 844 of them have achievements. They do come quite regularly. I remember when I first started getting these retro achievements, you see there, Airblade, which is one of my favourite games as a kid, that didn't have them. However, I think a couple of months ago, maybe before Christmas, they were added as well. So you can see they have a blog where it tells you what games they're adding. If you go to the home page, you can see what sets have just been released. So if I go to see more, I'm aware this video is a bit all over the place, but there's just so much to cover here. So I'd rather talk you all through it in a more kind of free form way. This isn't a proper tutorial, it's just a look. So if we go to PS2, and then so I can see that Dr. Muto, which I did play a lot of as a kid actually, that came out, what day are we on? That came out yesterday, 2 a.m. yesterday morning. Crazy Taxi, Psychonauts, Wallace and Gromit. So there's also, so you can see that already in February there's been about 12 sets added. So they do come relatively quickly. So if we pick, say, a specific game, so we'll go back to PS2 menu and we say, right, 50 Cent Bulletproof, a classic. So this is what a game site looks like. So we can see here, you can add this to your want to play if you want to keep track of it. There are some minor social features, not loads, but hopefully that's something that gets developed as time goes on. Most of it is in the forums just for chatting to people. So you can see here. So one thing I want to discuss is when you've been setting up those emulators, you might have seen an option to enable hardcore mode. There's hardcore mode and the softcore mode. Hardcore mode is you are not allowed save states, you're not allowed cheats, you're not allowed load states, you're not allowed rewinds. I think you're allowed fast forwards. That might be platform specific. But you can see here we have these gold bars and then these grey bars. So the gold ones is people that have played hardcore mode, and the grey bars are people that have played softcore mode, or as I call them, losers. I'm joking, of course. So we can see here, here's all the achievements. If you click into each achievement, you'll see, not so much in this one, but sometimes there's a bit more information on how to unlock. So if we look at a rarer achievement, for example, like 9 of Grizzly's medals, you can see that people have been discussing the achievement there. So sometimes people post links to YouTube guides they've uploaded. I know that came very, very helpful with the Tony Hawk's ones for a lot of finding some of the gaps, which was helpful. So you can see all sorts of interesting statistics here. So 31 people have mastered it, it looks like. Yep, 31 people have mastered it, a median time of 23 hours. That's how many people have beaten the game. Really, really interesting analytics if you're into that stuff, like I am. So the one thing you'll want to pay attention to is this supported game files. So you'll see here that there's a hash here, and it will tell you that 50% bulletproof, in this example, the USA version, the redump version. So that means that only this version of that game will work. If you have the European version, or I don't know if there was a Japanese version of 50 yen bulletproof, I don't know what the conversion rate is, that won't work. Well, also, whilst I'm here, I'll talk about, like I mentioned earlier about subsets. So if I go to Tony Hawk's, for example, and I go to Underground, you'll see here there's 3 supported game files. So if I go into this, I can see that the USA version is the main one. There's also this subset 0 stats, which I mentioned earlier, and there's the radical custom goals and gaps, which I'm not sure what these are. But you'll notice here, there's these patch files. So what these are is normally, the way RetroAchievements works is when you load up a game, it will ping the RetroAchievements server, and it will say, right, I have this file here. Do you have achievements for this file? And it has to match exactly, or it won't find anything. With the subsets, you used to have to download a patch file and patch your ROM, which would change the hash, so it would basically get the right set. They have just released multi-sets. It's not compatible with all platforms. I think it's just Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, a lot of the early ones. However, I believe they are coming for the other sets. So this will most likely become obsolete within the next couple of years, I imagine. But for now, if you want to dive into subsets, this is what you'll need. I'll cover patching in a separate video. Also, to finish up, you'll see that here's my little profile up here. Picture of me and my dog Maple. So this is what a profile looks like. So I played Pokemon Fire Red 20 minutes ago. Still on Route 2, leave me alone. Where I rank on the site, 13,000th. That's pretty good. I don't know what medal that'd be. All the points I've got, how many softcore, how many hardcore, how many games I've beaten, what achievements I've got. I've mastered ET. So, you know what? It's not that bad. It crashed an entire industry, but I've played worse. There's also comments on the wall. If ever you want to drop me a comment, it's just Alex Won't Cook is my username. So feel free to give me a follow. And you can see all the games down here that I've played, I've mastered over the years. Some of these I've just tried out. I really need to go back and properly beat some of these. So yeah, this was just a very, very quick overview of RetroAchievements. What I'll do is I'll dive into a game and I'll show you what it looks like when you actually unlock an achievement, and then we'll leave it there. So let's flip over. Okay, so I've booted up WarioWare for the Game Boy Advance, which is a fantastic game if you're not familiar with it. So what I'm going to do first is, this is inside RetroArch using the MGBA core. So I'm going to go to my hotkey, my quick menu, and then I'm just going to scroll down and have a look at the achievements. So you'll see here, these are some I've already unlocked. And then there's some here where you can see they have like a kind of counter on them. So one of the good things about RetroAchievements is some of them like this, you'll see in the bottom right corner a little counter for you, so it can help keep track. You can also get these little challenge icons. So if you're at a specific part of a game where there's an achievement that you could unlock at that point, then it normally pops up and it kind of prompts you to have a look at that achievement, because some of these are missable. They are listed on the RetroAchievements website. They have a little exclamation mark next to them if they are missable. So this achievement here, get a high score of 30 on Remix 1. So I'm going to back out. And then, yeah, Remix 1 was Jimmy. So my high score was 27. So pressure's on. Let's see if I can actually get this one. So we'll skip through his nonsense. So I'm on hardcore mode, but I can still use fast forward. So I imagine if you've never seen WarioWare before, this will be incredibly confusing to you. WarioWare is just a series of little 5-second mini games. It's incredibly addictive. I imagine if... Oh, I lost that one. If aliens were to invade and they were to ask you, what's Japan like? Just show them this, and they'd get it. They'd understand. The one thing to notice as well is retro achievements are offline only, online only, apologies. There has been some developments recently. I know Sapphire Rhodonite, who is one of the developers of Melon DS, and I believe has contributed to ISU, has decided to, or has found a way to enable the offline version. Because I find myself, and I'm guilty of it, is when I take these handheld devices on a plane or a train where I'm traveling, if I can't get a signal or I can't get Wi-Fi, I end up playing games that I don't really want to play just because I don't want to waste the effort getting the achievements if I can't get them. You can also enable what's called Encore mode, which if you've already unlocked the achievements, it just allows you to get them again if you want to do a little victory lap. Got that one a bit fine. Oop. Ah. Pressure's on, I might not even do this. I might have to edit this and come back. So what I'm going to do is fast forward to when I get the achievement, and we'll go from there. Hopefully, I get the achievement. I picked the wrong game to demo. So one thing I should mention as well, is when I started this, there are leaderboards. So they're not achievements as such, but it does track things like high scores for certain games, so it'll display those on your profile. You'll also see in the bottom right a small number, so I need to get 30. This is just counting up. So like I mentioned before about those achievements that have active counters, that's just an example of one of those. There we go. That took way more attempts than I anticipated. So if you want to do a video showcasing retro achievements, make sure you plan ahead and pick something you can actually achieve in less than 5 attempts. So there we are. That was just a pretty casual look at retro achievements. If you like the video, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. I'm tired, I'm going to bed. What was I saying? I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.